Welcome, my friends, back to Marvel Snap. Now, every 8 hours, I have been receiving a myriad of questions. Teddy, is this card worth it to pull out of my shop? Should I pin it or should I pass? Now, this video is meant to be your definitive answer to all of these questions. We're going to be breaking down the top recommendations out of Series 3 of what to grab, and then also looking at all of Series 4 and Series 5 for which ones are worth it, which one should stay in the shop. We're probably going to be making this video into a series. So to be kicking this series off, we have an incredible guest, Rajtronic. Welcome to the channel. How's it going, man?
I'm well. Thank you very much for having me.
Raj is coming to us from a mystical land far off across the ocean that's flowing with Murphys and Guinness. He's taken time out of his day to be here with us today. Very much appreciated. What's been your experience with the token shop, man?
Token shop so far, I have been lucky enough to be one of those people who got in early enough to complete the Series 3. So I have just been offered, huge deal. So I have the Series 4 and Series 5 cards. I immediately spent all my tokens, blew them straight away. I bought Bast, which I don't regret, and I bought Super Scroll, which I do regret.
Ooh, Bast is a white whale for me right now.
Okay. Well, so far so good. I mean, I actually haven't played him, a huge amount, but really think it was a solid purchase. I mean, we'll get into it down the line, but that's been my token shop. I did pin Null, and then I heard Null isn't great without Galactus, so now I'm like, okay, I'll unpin her. I did pin She-Hulk, but apparently there's a bug in Steam when you hit escape.
Yes, it hit me too. I had Galactus, and then I lost it.
So
I got Thanos instead, and man, how that one twisted around on me.
So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm hoping to maybe pick up one of the new cards that comes out today. I think I'm about 200 tokens short of that 6,000 mark.
There we go. And hopefully the advice from this video can keep you guys from ending up with a token shop purchase that you regret. Chat peer pressured me into picking up Absorbing Man, blowing all my tokens there. So now we are restarting from zero to be able to grab any of these new cards that are coming out. And it has a very clear disclaimer. There are no refunds on these cards. So make sure you are making educated purchases. That's what this guide is for. All right, ground rules before we dive into the guide here. We are only going to be covering the top 10 cards in Series 3. Now, that's not to say that there's not more than 10 good cards in Series 3. This is really how exclusive and precious we are seeing the collector token resource being. You gather it very slowly, and these are the core cards that you really want to target. If you have all of these 10 cards that we are going to cover, then honestly, I recommend just hoarding your tokens for some of the big, shiny, hard hitters out of the higher series cards. Raj, do you think that's a good take on how stingy are you with these collector tokens?
Oh, you'd have to be, and I think if you haven't completed your Series 3, I think Series 3 should be your first priority. Getting those 1,000 tokens, and as we've already seen, the drop rate is low enough even when you've completed your Series 3. So as somebody who still hasn't completed their Series 3, it's even lower still. But obviously you have a chance of getting a Series 3 card is the other upside of that. But I think, getting some of these corners, as you have them here, we'll get into them, but I think some of these cards unlock certain archetypes that maybe you previously couldn't play.
Yes, and let's start diving in. Coming to us, Raj, how about you start us out? This is one of the cards that you had top of your recommendations, fresh from his chiropractor visit after having to carry the She-Hulk TV show. Talk to me about Daredevil.
So you asked me to submit 5 cards. I tried to pick one on each, which is really tough. I tried to pick one at each sort of energy level, energy level. I always call it mana, but energy, whatever you want to call it. And my first one was, and because I only had 5, I skipped the 1 drops. 2. Daredevil, I think, is such a good card as just an all-round good card. I mean, it can fit in almost any kind of deck, and its power is unbelievable to be able to see your opponents turn 5 before you make a decision on whether you want to move forward with the game or not. I think it's not broken, but I think it's one of the most powerful effects in the game. That knowledge is knowledge is power, and
it is.
This card gives you more knowledge than your opponent, and when you have that, you can make really good educated guesses. You can lock down a location to guarantee it for you going into turn 5. And I actually was on a different podcast when these cards were leaked, and I said, of all the 100 cards, I said Daredevil is going to be the biggest impact, and I think I was right. I just want to say I think I was right, way back in July. Whenever this card was leaked.
This guy's incredible. I'd give it to you that you were right. This guy's incredible.
Yeah, so the reason Daredevil is there is because if I had to pick 5, I wanted to pick 5 cards that are just good in the most amount of decks, and I think Daredevil is right up there.
Yeah, so we're slotting Daredevil quite happily into the plug and play category of cards, and kind of how we are dividing the Series 3 recommendations. He's a very high skill ceiling card, but his knowledge that he gives you can directly impact when you snap, when you retreat, right? So your ranked climb is going to feel a lot better if you know, yep, I should just go ahead and bounce on turn 5, or even just threaten the bluff on turn 5. You see their play and then you snap. I mean, the opponent is quaking in their boots. It's amazing. And with friendly matches right around the corner, highly recommend picking this card up, because I think it's going to get even better in the friendly matches. What do you call it? Gameplay environment. So there we are. First card added to the list, plug and play card, Daredevil. Most happy in the control lists, but can be plug and play absolutely anywhere. Next card that we're going to be looking at, and if you've been playing since the very beginning of the beta, you have surely seen her pretty face prior to becoming Death's last name, a Wave. 3/3 on reveal next turn. Cards in both players' hands cost 4. She's an absolute menace right now as part of the Death Wave, which is now Barrow. How Arrow usurped Wave as the pretty face of the list, I'm not sure. But this energy cheat is insane compared to the other energy cheats that just allow you to take a single hop on the curve, play something 1 turn early. Wave vaults it. She allows you to drop a 6-cost card on turn 4. Her synergies with Death and She-Hulk together is absolutely busted, able to play effectively a free She-Hulk and a free Death on top of another 6-cost card. Raj, help, this card is busted. It is absolutely busted. She's been unchanged since she first debuted in the beta, so it doesn't look like she is going to be changing anytime soon. And then to put it all over the top is the double-edged sword. She's hitting your opponent's cards as well, restricting them to only playing 1 card, with all those cards being set to 4 cost, so it's unlikely that the opponent is going to be able to play any combos that they may have been planning. Do you have anything to add on what this card brings?
I wonder, now again, you know more about these things than I do, but the Death Wave interaction, do you think they will change the way Death works rather than change the way Wave works?
I think if they wanted to break it up, yes, it would be a change on Death and She-Hulk rather than Wave. I think they like the idea of Wave being able to rush a 6-cost to the board, and it would be more likely if they haven't said that it's on the watch list yet. No. But if it does, I think it's going to be changes on the side of Death and She-Hulk. At least I hope that's the way they go. They could certainly take it whatever way they want. So Wave slotting in alongside Daredevil, plug and play card. Fantastic addition. All right, Raj, back to you. Now this, one of the only 2 cards that has been nerfed and still managed to hang on to its spot on the list. We're looking at Sarah.
Okay, so again, I picked this one. It was my picture of the 5-drops. I think Sarah, as all the 5-drops, I mean, there's plenty of good ones in there, but I just thought Sarah, again, unlocked the most amount of potential if you're looking for a card that can slot into lots of different decks. There's nothing more satisfying than dropping Sarah on 5 and playing 3 3-drops, or a 5-drop and a 2-drop, or being able to play multiple cards for cheaper and have that final turn 6 be so much more powerful, or being able to generate so much more power than your opponent can. They might be only playing 2 or 1 card and you're dropping 3 or 4 cards. This coupled in Mr. Negative decks, you're seeing it now in Surfer decks. I think the card's power is even, like the 4 energy, like that 5/5, I don't think ever decided games. I think the 5/4 doesn't, you don't lose games by 1 point here that often. And I think the nerf isn't really a nerf, to be honest. I think it hasn't impacted her. I mean, you love the stats. We talked about this beforehand, before the video, but you love the stats. I doubt Sarah's win rate or played rate has dropped anyway significantly since they put her power down to 4.
Not when they had the Silver Surfer as a new toy for her.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's why I put her in there. I think if you see her on your token shop, absolutely grab her, because she will be able to help you, buff up some other decks that you've been playing, definitely.
All right, so Sarah sliding in. Another energy cheat, maybe detecting a pattern here on the recommendations alongside Wave. These energy cheats, they're very good. They are the way that you play Snap, it seems, in the advanced stages of Pool 3. Sarah's combos, absolutely nuts, and she works so well in any deck, really, at that 5 point. As long as you're looking to combo rather than play an individual card on turn 6, you can think about adding Sarah to that list. Oh no, now for the scum of the earth. Menace on the meta. It is the leader ladder that we are in right now. Incredibly ironic that the biggest brain card is now seen as the most brain dead play. A 6/4 on reveal. His text might as well say, if you stayed even with your opponent to this stage in the game, you win now. That's what it really says. You copy all cards your opponent played this turn, but on your side. There's a lot of nuance here into how he interacts, but really it is what I said in the beginning. He just allows you to maintain any tempo that you built up in the mid and early game to then be able to stay ahead of your opponent as long as you can close the gap by 4 points. This guy is wild. People are hating on him so hard. If you pick him up, he's not the free win that the Reddit might be crying and telling you that he is, but he is the great equalizer. I see him as the single best card if you're running a budget collection to take you up against somebody running the full advanced meta list. Because why should you try and carefully craft a great turn 6 finish when you can just play leader and copy the opponent's homework? He's absolutely amazing. 60.7% win ratio. Oh no, he is nuts. Now, because he is copying cards, there is some nuance here that if you play him, you're going to be able to pick up. The initiative order is fairly important because you do receive the cards and then you get the on-reveal abilities, but some cards, the interactions absolutely break down, and that is really the balancing factor. And it's as a meta reaction, I think the pendulum is going to swing away from him a little bit, but as I said, he is still probably the number one pickup if you are running the budget collection and going up against these meta lists, because you'll be able to just copy over what the opponents are running as their huge finishers, putting leader in as the final slot on the plug and play category. Now we're going to be jumping into our next category, the amplifiers. These are cards that are combo foundations, and they're a little bit split because we have so much on reveal and so much ongoing in the game. So Raj, to start us out, let's look at Wong.
Again, I think this is one of the ones I sent you at the 4 power mark. I just thought, or 4 energy mark, excuse me. While it's not the best card in the game, I see a lot of people out there who really want Wong. I don't think he's an incredible game-breaking card, but again, I think he unlocks a few different synergies. You might have cards that have some really good on-reveal stuff, even if it's just a basic on-reveal deck with White Tigers and Odins and things like that. Or you want to combo like Hazmats and stuff like that. Just the ability to duplicate.
I feel called out, Raj. I feel called out.
Oh, sorry. Well, I recently played a Hazmat deck and was very successful with it. I absolutely love Hazmat decks. But it's also very easily countered as well. I find it's very telegraphed, and telegraphed moves, especially at higher levels, I feel get punished harder. So while Wong is a great card to get, I think it's, definitely pick it up when you get a chance. Just be aware that it's not the meta breaking card you might think it is. Just because you've seen some crazy 4 triggers on a White Tiger plays doesn't mean that that's going to win you every game. And I think that's where people can fall down and think, oh, I've got Wong, now I'm going to wreck the meta. But I still think you should get Wong.
Oh, yeah. When he works, he is probably going to be able to run it in his deck and win, but any kind of control stops him, right? If it's ongoing control, it shuts him down. If it's on reveal control, then it stops everything that you follow up to Wong. And if it's moving cards around, that also breaks it up because he has to be at his location, very telegraphed. And that means that if you pick him up, you're just going to have to be ready to retreat quickly on some games. Opponents are likely going to snap if they have the answer to Wong. If they don't, they're likely to retreat themselves. And so that's kind of the gambit that you are running. On the other side of the amplifying coin, shall we say, is Mystique. 3/0 on reveal. If the last card you played has an ongoing ability, this card gains it. Mystique is incredible. I have been waiting for her to go up to 4 cost for a very long time now because of how flexible she is, being able to grab any ongoing ability. up to the 5 cost range unless you're running magic or an energy cheat to be able to get things out early. This multiplicative effect that she can have, especially with the interactions with other ongoing cards, can be insane. Often they end up in just these meme lists where people are trying to supercharge a specific card or a character that they really enjoy. But honestly, just playing Iron Man in your list with Mystique and then Mystique copying the Iron Man as the force multiplier for the Iron Man, that's almost a game-winning play in and of itself, which shows how busted this card is. And then the 60.99% win rate, I hope backs up my recommendation here for just how solid Mystique is. An important nuance to be able to remember is that her acquiring the ongoing ability is on reveal. So Cosmo does stop her. She's similar to Wong in that she gets hit by all kinds of control. On reveal will restrict her, and then Rogue or something that's shutting down on reveal abilities can cut her down as well. But she's living very happily in the Patriot
mean ongoing
list.
Abilities there.
Yes, ongoing. Thank you.
Yeah.
She's living most happily right now in Cerebro and Patriot lists, but she's good all over. You will not regret acquiring Mystique. Our third category here, Raj, Cornerstones. So these are cards that we are looking at a little bit more niche in application, but the center, the beating heart of very powerful lists. Tell us why Destroyer is so incredible.
So Destroyer, again, got a little bit of a nerf, but I don't think really impacted the overall power output of these decks that you can run with him. I assume Destroyer is a him. I'm not 100% certain.
Mythical being of total destruction, the Norse mythology, I suppose.
Sure, why not? So that I suppose when you say cornerstones, I suppose Destroyer basically builds the deck around him, and he is your big finisher on the end.
Exactly.
You can slot him in. You know, I've played versions where you're running an ongoing style deck with Spectrum, and he's a kind of surprise. Your opponent doesn't know if you're playing against an ongoing style deck or a Destroyer deck. But then there's other variants there that run like Sub-Zero and things like that can turn him off, running things with Taskmaster alongside. And then you're running cards that like to be destroyed in a specific lane. You know, you have your Bucky Barnes and things like that, or you can run Electros in the decks. There's a few different variants, but a Destroyer deck is a very significant type or a very specific type of deck. There's no, you don't slot a Destroyer into a Patriot deck, for example. It's very much, this is a Destroyer deck or Destroyer list.
Oh yeah, certainly. And this guy took a while for the community to be able to get a handle on him. I think right next to Leader. So he had been my top recommendation for a Pool 2 player to pick up first in Pool 3, just because all of the cards that could be built around him into a meta list were incredibly budget-friendly. Pool 1 and Pool 2 cards alongside Destroyer was performing very, very well because you had the Professor X, you have the armor, and you have the Spectrum and the ongoing suite of cards. I think Leader might actually have supplanted him now as the top pick to try and grab first. But Destroyer is up there. He's going to build you a meta list with just your budget cards, and he's going to be solid all the way through. And then as you continue to expand your collection with the Electro, a ramp list, you get even more flavors of Destroyer. People might be sick of him at this point, but you can have him many different ways. So there is our first of the destruction cards, and then the other heart of the destruction list, Death, really forming a separate coin. You don't see them played together very often. I tried this in the beta. I was surprised that people were not running it more often. I got it to work. You can run Magic to be able to extend the game length, have Destroyer try and break up some things, and still get Death in there as an extra finisher. It's fun, but the meta hive mind has said that it's not that good. So I will bow to the meta hive mind, but I will tell you that Death is amazing. The first name of the Death Wave list that is terrorizing us for months on end now. 9/12, most expensive card in the game, costs 1 less for each card destroyed this game. 66.75% win rate. Oh no, Raj. Like we said, if a balance change comes to the list, it probably is going to be toning Death down. But even if she gets toned down, she's still going to be well worth the purchase. Now she's leading what has been the strongest list in the meta for a long time. This card is amazing, and all the optimizing that has gone into this list to really find the bare minimum that it takes to get Death to come to the board very easily, and then have the most powerful cards all alongside. This list is a terror, especially alongside Wave, but if you don't have Wave, you can still be happy running Death alongside your early destruction cards as an extra big finisher. So we're putting her and Destroyer as the keys to be able to unlock that full destruction potential in Pool 3. Next up, Raj, talk to us about Dracula. This guy initially shocked me as being a Marvel crossover, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah, so Dracula fits a few different lists actually, but I suppose mainly probably fits into the discard archetype. But
exactly, but he's one of the most flexible discard cards. It's shocking, but that is really the way that he plays out.
Yeah, I think what people don't actually realize is he counts as one extra disc. So if you're running Morbius, he counts as one extra discard, if that makes sense. Which is something a lot of people don't know, is that he actually discards the card, so therefore manages to buff your Apocalypse and also buff your Morbius if you're running him in a discard list. We've also seen him run in sort of big lists, ramp lists that just want, play him on turn 4 and then leave your Destroyer or your Death in your hand, and he's able to discard those cards and gain 15 or 12 or whatever, big power with you. I'm struggling to think of that 14 strength card that sits in the left
Giganto or Infinite, any of these.
Yeah, any of those big cards. So very flexible to run in a few different lists. And yeah, a solid card that can't really be messed with either. It's not an ongoing ability, so it can't be, it's not an ongoing, it's not on reveal, so it's going to happen at the end of the game, and your opponent can't really mess with it. And they also won't know what's going to be discarded from your hand. Now, that can bite you if you didn't manage to get rid of all the other cards in your hand, and you've got that 1 in 3 chance of discarding I won't say wasp, but a sunspot or something, and the other 2 cards are a Giganto and an Infinite. We've all hit that 33%, so it's a solid card, and I do recommend picking it up if it becomes available in your token shop.
Yeah, he can really supercharge all of these discard synergies, but can flex into a number of other places, dropping the big boys. And as we said with Wong and Mystique, any control hits them. As you say with Dracula, no control hits him. That is the huge freeing bit here. You can cheat these huge cards to the board, and you honestly don't have to worry about any kind of control. You don't even have to worry about control from locations. Say the locations that are debuffing your cards per turn hit the board. Dracula's body gets smaller and smaller. He doesn't care. He just resets himself as he gets that final bite. The taste of blood is in his mouth, and he gains all the strength. I love Dracula so much. And then to be able to cap off our recommendations, the stars and bars make their way. Patriot, ongoing. Your cards with no abilities have +2 power, a 3/1. When I first saw this list, Raj, I was dumbfounded. I was like, oh, this person they must have made Infinite. They're playing a joke deck. They're playing all the cards with no abilities. And then they played Patriot on me, and they beat me, and I was like, is there something here? Is there something here? The list has only gotten better since it first debuted in the beta. People have found more and more ways to be able to optimize. And right now, I'm running a Surfer Patriot list, which feels a little scummy with how good it is. Brood is suddenly a meta card. What has happened? But again, Patriot also an incredible budget pickup, because coming out of Pool 2 right into the early stages of Pool 3, you have a lot of no ability cards. The core of your list is already available to you, and as you acquire the Mystique and some other options, then you're going to be able to bring it up to the full Tier 1 meta list that it is seen as right now. The Ultron, Doctor Doom as the finishers. This card is really fun. Honestly, Raj, I kind of want to start a petition that we move Patriot down into Pool 2. I think he's a great list to learn on. I did a video recently teaching my wife to play Snap, and I taught her a Patriot list. Because with the no abilities, there's just a level of simplicity to be able to get your mind wrapped around the other unique mechanics of Snap, of which there are a lot. And so I think that he would fit quite happily alongside the rest of the Pool 2 meta. What's your take on this?
I kind of agree. I'm interested in your news. I want to subscribe to your newsletter on this Patriot list, move down to Pool 2. Yeah, you are right. He is, again, a cornerstone, as you described, to a specific type of deck that you just basically cannot play until you get your Patriot. Now, we talked about our amplifiers. Obviously, the likes of Mystique really makes Patriot an even better deck again.
Yes.
And now with the introduction of Silver Surfer, I've seen your list. I think I've played your list a little bit, and it does feel bad sometimes at how good it is. But like you said, you can run Patriot with a lot of Pool 1 and Pool 2 cards, or series. Are we calling them pools or series? I can't remember. Yeah. You have series on the board there.
Yeah.
Series 3 Series 2 and Series 1 cards fit in nicely with Patriot. So when he does finally get unlocked, or when you find him in your store, you will not regret picking him up.
Oh, of course. Of course. I was able to grab him early on the free-to-play account, and it's been good times. Good times. We have 2 honorable mentions. We wanted to be able to run the 10 cards, but then really, if you're going to have so many energy cheats on the board, you might as well mention all of them. So Electro right now, as a ramp list on reveal +1 max energy, ongoing, you can only play 1 card a turn. And then alongside him, we have the Psylocke, 2/1, giving you that just individual hop on the energy curve. On reveal, next turn you get +1 energy. Both of these cards are going to be very solid to round out your collection, just as tools to have in the toolbox. Highly recommend these, but secondary to some of the other ones on our list. I think Electro right now is in a renaissance. I think people have finally found how to unlock him, and these ramp lists are looking scarier and scarier, probably because the people want to play Leech on turn 4, and then, Leader on 5, or Destroyer on 5, Leader on 6, whatever shenanigan you have cooked up. The Electro lets you get there even faster. And as we cap off Series 3 here, I want to reiterate, this is not that these are the only 10 cards I think are good in Series 3. These are just the only ones that I think are good enough to spend tokens on. So if you have acquired all of these cards, I genuinely recommend just hoarding your tokens after that. But we do have one name that probably bears mentioning here, Raj. The bayest one of all, Arrow. How do you feel about Arrow? So she hasn't made the list here. Would you recommend people spend tokens on Arrow?
Ooh, you really put me on the spot here.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
I always am amazed at how cards that, me and you have been lucky enough to be playing with for months, suddenly are the best cards in the game. And it took us this long to realize that. Like Leech, Leader, for example. These are cards that have been in the game for if you've been lucky enough to play since beta, for 5-6 months.
Yep.
And it's only now we realize that they're good cards. So there's hope for me that there are other cards still buried in the collection that are absolute meta breakers that we just haven't figured out how to make work yet. But I think so. I think Arrow should be on this page as well, or as a good honorable mention for a card. If she pops into your list, I think you should pick her up. There is, while she hasn't been said to be on any watch list, have you got her win rate stats in front of you there? I can't see them, but I'm sure you know them.
Yeah, so Arrow is sitting at the 57.95% win ratio.
Okay, well then I think that's a pretty no-brainer to pick her up if you see her there. That's a pretty good win rate, am I right?
Yeah, that's looking pretty solid. Maybe I'm disrespecting Arrow a little bit. I feel like, she's right there. She's right there on the line. If you see her in the shop and you also have the other pieces of the Death Wave list already, that list particularly, she's really shining. So if you grab Arrow, you're not going to regret her. We can put it at that, right?
Can I ask you a quick question then? Arrow versus Sarah on the list. What do you?
I go Sarah there. I take the Sarah. I feel like Sarah can plug into so many lists and then open up all these combos. And while Arrow gives you the control, Sarah just gives you this raw force that maybe doesn't even care about the control. So this caps off our Series 3 discussion. We'll put Arrow in there as the additional honorable mention. Certainly, all of these cards are going to help you round out your list. They've been solid for a while. I feel very confident in having these as our top recommendations up and above any of the other cards that you see in your shop. Now we're going to be looking at Series 4. These ones are much more exclusive than Series 3. You're only going to see them guaranteed 1 in 40 collector reserves appearing natively, and then they cost you 3,000 collector tokens if you're going to pull them out of the shop. This whole category falls into an interesting place. Some cards are really underwhelming, and some cards are absolutely king or queen, as the case may be. Let's be able to dive in. We're going to move a little bit faster here on the categories here of if you should pin or pass. There are some cards that fall in an in-between. If you really love a specific list and you already have other powerful cards, then I do recommend getting them, but they really just accelerate one list. So they're for the fanboys. That's our fanboy special category. Absorbing Man. My peer pressure purchase for 3 on reveal. If the last card you played has an unreveal ability, this card copies it. This guy has a bit of a cult following of players who think that he is solid. I am not one of them, even though I own him. So hopefully that says something. I'm going to say wait for sale. And by wait for sale, I mean the devs are planning on bringing cards down out of Series 4 into Series 3. Raj, do you have any experience with Absorbing Man?
I don't, and it's funny, I don't even play against him. Obviously these cards are still expensive in the ground, like 3,000. You think, oh, it's much cheaper than 6,000, but even getting 3,000 collector's tokens together take a while. So if Absorbing Man is in there, and your options are get Absorbing Man or get Series 3 cards, I'm like, absolutely pass on Absorbing Man. There is a list out there, I'm sure of it. Somebody will discover where Absorbing Man absolutely breaks something, but right now I don't think anybody's found it.
Yeah, he adds consistency to the on-reveal lists, I feel like is what it is, but he hasn't made a huge splash in the meta yet. And just as Raj said, these tokens are so exclusive, wait for him to come down into Series 3. That's going to do much better for your overall collection progress. Up next, we are looking at Agent Coulson. Raj, I heard that you just recently acquired this guy. 3/4 on reveal, add a random 4-cost and 5-cost card to your hand. I think Agent Coulson is the best of the agents, which is kind of like saying that you walked under a limbo bar about 6 feet tall. What are your thoughts on Agent Coulson? I also feel like he's somebody that you want to wait for when he drops down to Series 3.
Yeah, I got him from a collector's cash. I never remember the specific name.
Cash and reserve,
Yeah, I got him today by chance, and I didn't go yay. I went okay. At least I'm one closer to She-Hulk.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I think I've seen him in successful sort of Devil Dino lists, and I can see the advantage of being able to buff up your hand and then maybe get a good 4-drop or good 5-drop. But I mean, you don't want to be relying on random 4-drops and random 5-drops to make your deck good. So again, like you said, wait for sale.
Yeah, his ideal situation is you have Quinjet on board, you're playing the Devil Dino list, and then you're getting this good mid-game card that's also discounted by 1. That's his best scenario if he pulls something that's already going to synergize with the list. But yeah, wait for sale here. Now we're looking at Atuma, the first Pool 4 card, and one of my mods said that it sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger saying it's not Atuma. And I can never unhear it now. If you have
I can't unhear it.
If you have another card here at the end of your turn, destroy this. I was hoping this was just going to be an upgrade to Warpath on the Destroyer list. He hasn't really ended up that way. Honestly, the most creative use that I've heard of him is that he will self-sacrifice in a null list, which sounds like that's not the card that you want to be running. Your turn 4 should not be setting up a self-sacrifice 10-point play just to empower one other card later on in the game. We're putting him on the wait for sale category as well. All right, now we are looking at Helicarrier. Oh man, Raj. 6/10, when you discard this from your hand, add 3 random cards to your hand. So I read this and I was just like, what? Do you have any deck you think this rolls with?
No, I haven't got this card. I haven't been offered this card. No one has played this card against me. When Helicarrier jumps to mind, the only thing I think of is Snapster. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dexter, the Hearthstone creator. He has bought Helicarrier, and because he refuses to regret his purchase, he has basically made it his life's goal to have a Helicarrier deck.
Yes.
Obviously, you run it in some form of discard deck, or with Devil Dino. Maybe it synchronizes well with the Dracula. I mean, these are the only cards that jump to my mind. I haven't dedicated any brain space to Helicarrier because it just, to me, when I first read it, was like, this is a terrible card. No, thank you.
Yes, it's a card without an identity. And it had so much potential, Raj. I wanted it to be the force multiplier, the finisher for the agent deck that was maybe going to add power to cards that had been created, not starting in your deck, right? Just to hold together the Quinjet and then finish with the Helicarrier. It made sense, and then they went off in the left field with this. I've heard that Snapster's list has been improving. If I ever get it, I'll test it myself, but I think this card is just bad. We'll put him down in the bottom tier.
I don't think I'm ever spending tokens on this card.
No, I definitely don't spend tokens on it. Heaven forbid. 49% win rate is one of the lowest in the entire game. So yeah, we're going hard pass on the Helicarrier. Now for something a little bit more refreshing, Luke Cage. 2-1. Ongoing. Your cards can't have their power reduced. We talked about Hazmat earlier. Hazmat finally got a boyfriend. Name is Luke Cage. So this one slotting into the fanboy special category for us. If you love the Hazmat list, you have to get Luke Cage. Does it make the list meta? I was saying that it was. I was going to be the herald of Hazmat, and unfortunately Wong is just not reliable enough to make it happen. That's really what's holding the deck back. Maybe there's some other trick that I haven't found yet, but it's my life purpose to find it. So Luke Cage, I am the fanboy who bought this card. Raj, I heard that you had him as well.
He was my first random drop of the Series 4 cards, whatever, 80 collector's caches ago, or whatever that pity timer was. And I had a lot of fun running a Hazmat list. I think the mental gymnastics you have to go through to play this deck make it really, really fun, and it's not mental gymnastics. I don't like the math sometimes in this game, but this deck made me like it a little bit, just to figure out what it was going to do, running it with an Odin. I also have had like the coolest Hazmat variant for like the longest time.
Yes.
And never was like, well, there's a card I'm never going to play. And then Luke Cage came along and I was like, oh, I finally get to show people my Hazmat variant. So like you said, you have to really, really want to play a Hazmat deck to justify purchasing Luke Cage. Probably, like you said, not going to break the meta, but I think what often does best on ladder is the decks that people are not expecting to see, because your opponent literally has no clue what you're about to play. When you're playing against meta decks, you can try and play around the arrow, try and play around the leader, but this deck makes it very, very hard. People won't see it that often, and you will catch a lot of people off guard.
Oh, my favorite screenshot came from my Discord. Warmed my heart, Raj. They had played Hazmat up against the Gatling gun Gambit list. Their entire board was destroyed, but the opponent's board was entirely negative. So they won with no cards on board. Absolute triumph for the Hazmat.
Amazing. And can I just clarify one thing? Luke Cage also prevents Valkyrie from resetting everybody to 3. So I haven't seen a list, but I've heard about a list where Luke Cage can sit in with Valkyrie, and Valkyrie will reset all your opponent's cards to 3, but all your cards will remain maybe, they might be 4s, 5s, or 6s, and Luke Cage prevents Valkyrie from reducing your card size. So another interesting interaction that I've heard about.
Oh yeah, and he connects with Typhoid Mary. He prevents any of the locations that are debuffing your cards. Mm-hmm. He does so retroactively because he's an ongoing effect, so they can be debuffed early in the game and then they'll all just spring back. He unwrites Scorpion. The man he's worthy, if you're the fanboy, of those 3,000 tokens. We don't give that recommendation lightly, but there is enough there on Luke Cage, I think, to recommend it.
Absolutely.
All right. Umbaku. Honestly, one of my favorite parts of the Wakanda Forever movie. Incredibly dynamic character, incredibly bad card. If this is in your deck at the end of the game, it jumps to a random location. The best thing going for Umbaku, and I've heard this, I've not actually seen it yet, Raj, is that he peeks out from the deck if your board is completely full and then says there's no room for me and then goes back. I
can't wait to see that.
I can't wait to see that either, but after I see it, I will probably never play him again.
Yeah, I can't wait for my opponent's deck to see that. It's never going to happen to mine.
We are dropping Umbaku down in the just bad category. I understand. The Cerebro 2's list is right on the edge of meta competitiveness, and Umbaku plays there. This is all technically true statements. I still don't think... I will not recommend you pay 3,000 tokens to add Umbaku to your Cerebro 2's list. Moving right along. Maria Hill, 2-3, another agent. On reveal, add a random 1-cost card to your hand. The agents, Raj, I just don't see them connecting. What's your opinion on the agents as a whole? We're putting Maria Hill down into the just bad category right now.
I mean, they seem like holdovers from Hearthstone. If you've played Hearthstone,
like they exist just because they need to exist.
Yeah,
that effect they feel like should be in the game.
I think so. I think we've seen cards like this. Again, my biggest experience with other digital card games is Hearthstone, and we've seen 2/3s that generate 1s. We've seen 3/4s that generate 2s, not 4s and 5s. But I think that is almost, I feel, like a holdover from maybe Ben Brode and Hearthstone cards. We always have to remember as well, not every card can be a meta breaker. They do have to print pack fillers. That is something I've learned over the years as well. Unfortunately, there have to be bad cards printed, like, or I won't say bad cards, but cards that, are, you've probably heard that joke, like, you've been overwhelmed and underwhelmed, but can you just be whelmed? And I feel like that's where these cards fit for me.
Maria Hill whelms, and for 3,000 tokens, that's a pass. Certainly a pass. Orca actually not yet released because of some bug, not sure, so we don't have any win rate stats for him. Ongoing +5 power if this is your only card here. So he is the grown-up Namor, and thus I don't like it. Just getting more Namor was not something I was asking for. We're putting Orca down in the just bad category as well. Raj, do you see any situation where you want this finisher solo?
I feel bad for putting him in the just bad. We don't even have any stats on him, and you're already putting him in the just bad category. I just want to hold my hand up. I didn't agree to this one specifically. You're probably right. You're probably not leaving a location empty for the entire game to drop a 6. What is he, a 615?
615 with the ability 615.
Not great, is it? It's still not great stats. Again, I'm sure there's somebody out there, building an Atlantis deck or Atlantean deck. I don't think it's going to be good, but it's unfortunate. You're basically playing Atuma on one lane, Namor on another, and Orca on a third lane, and hoping.
And then a Hulkbuster for the finish.
Yeah, maybe something like that. That's true, or a Venom or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
We talked very quickly about Atuma, but I've seen Atuma into Venoms and things like that.
Yes.
Playing with multiple cards to make them work. But anyway, probably will be just bad. I feel bad putting him in there before actually giving him a chance to be bad.
It's fair. And this is why I'd really like to make this a series monthly, because there are other cards that are leaked, such as Miss Marvel, who's a lot of other ways to be able to get power to adjacent locations, which I think is where Orca can thrive, when he gets that assistance without a card body there. But we don't have these other cards to be able to compare with right now. So that's why in the future, when he releases without Ms. Marvel or these other cards in the list, pass on him. Pass immediately.
No. You've nailed your colors to the mast now. It's too late. No take back.
He's bad. He will always be bad, and he should feel bad. She-Hulk complete turn about 610. Cost 1 less for each unspent energy last turn. Our goddess just flexing the thighs on us here. She-Hulk is the biggest meta shakeup to come out of the Series 4 cards. I would argue that she has impact of some of the Series 5 cards as well. That gets into an argument, but hands down, the best Series 4 card. We're putting her in the Hulk Smash category. If you see this, you smash the buy button.
Absolutely. I would argue that she is the most impactful card of the Series 4 and 5 cards, in that she fits into the most versatile amount of decks as well. I mean, there's loads of lists she's going to fit into where you might have to pass a turn or 2 turns, and the ability to discount a 610 is just crazy to me. I think I told you the story. I can't remember if we were recording or not, but she was pinned. I hit escape, unfortunately, which unpins, and now I have to wait for her to appear again. I saw somebody on Twitter complaining that she keeps appearing in his token shop, and I'm like, well, just buy her then, because she's the best card of the 4 and 5.
Fate extended its hand and said, "Here's a second chance."
Yeah, I wish she would appear over and over in my. I would buy her 3 or 4 times in a row if I had to.
Can we run multiple She-Hulks? Yes, with Moon Girl, you can.
Yes, exactly.
It is good. The fact that she's a strict upgrade in the Deathwave deck that's already a meta list is insane, and then her flexibility of going in all these other lists. Probably talk the most about She-Hulk now, but that's justified because she is that good of a card. You will have 0 regrets acquiring the She-Hulk. And now, the She-Hulk villain, Titania, 1/5. When any card is played at this location, this card switches sides. Now, Raj, I see 2 good reasons to play Titania. I don't think her stats or ability are very good, though. She's really clunky to be able to work in. She has this extra little mini game and mind game of playing around her. I was trying on stream, Raj, and we got played. The opponents seem to be able to play my Titania better than me, and that's just kind of what you're inviting if you rock the Titania. She's not a card that you can play happily on curve. You want to be able to combo her towards the end of the game, and even then crazy stuff can happen. That's just as much in your opponent's control as yours, and that's where I really start to waver on a card. So especially when you're looking at, should you purchase this card? No. If you just pick her up, she can be fun to play around with, but not to spend tokens on.
Yeah, she breaks my brain, to be honest with you. And like you said, the mind games around her just mean I don't think she's competitive in a competitive list. There's just too much variance there.
Series 5, we're going to have very similar categories of the really standout, the fanboy specials, the ones that you want to wait for them to decrease, and then the ones that are just bad. We're going to be looking at a lot more fanboy specials because these cards, very exclusive, not a lot of testing, and they fit in a number of niche applications. So let's see here. We're also going to be covering the brand new ones that are releasing this month. Some we already have a little bit of Null, but we're going to be doing some theory crafting around the Darkhawk and the Sentry as well. So, starting out, Black Panther. On reveal, double this card's power. So this is the cadence of them bringing cards into Series 5, right? He was the Battle Pass last season. Now he is Series 5. I hope next month he's Series 4. He's a wait for sale for me. He is meta. Alongside Wong and Zola, we've seen how impactful that can be, but not 6,000 tokens meta, in my opinion. Raj, what do you think?
Yeah, like you said, they're better meta decks for less tokens. And like you said, I think he has that absolute sick combo with Wong and then Arnim Zola. Completely agree.
And then for a quick discussion on their release cadence, at what point are you going to be looking at, if you were a free-to-play player, acquiring Battle Pass cards? Would you want to eventually get into a place where you get the Battle Pass card at 5K? Would you be waiting for the Series 4, so the 3K, or are you going to be looking for them just to come in free-to-play Series 3?
You see, the free-to-play model is, you're waiting for a long time. I don't know if it has been calculated out there, but you're talking weeks, if not months, before you even get the opportunity to be offered the card for free. So I think, I think, like, it's designed to make you want to buy the Battle Pass, isn't it? You know, it's there to give you that early access to those cards. I think Black Panther was a good Battle Pass card. I think there's only been 1 or 2 Battle Pass cards that are like absolutely essential in the meta, and like those were maybe Wave and then at a push Daredevil potentially. But the previous ones that came out, like Thor, Black Panther, like I don't think they're like essential picks. Yeah, it really depends on what that card is. Even Silver Surfer, I think, is again on the higher end of things, but still not meta defining. So it really depends on how much FOMO you have.
Yeah, I got you. Some people might take issue with Silver Surfer's power level. Let us know in the comments. Do you guys think that Silver Surfer is going to remain a meta staple, or is he a bit of a blip? But now we're looking at Galactus. 6/3 on reveal. If this is your only card here, destroy all other locations. He's flipping tables, Raj. Galactus is flipping tables. 66.18% win ratio, the highest win ratio of any Series 5 or Series 4 card. This man is insane. I had several members of the community within my channel have rode the Galactus deck up to infinite. Ben Brode has actually, so the one cautionary tale, I would say this is our infinite dominance pick. This is the one that you buy if you see it appear in shop. And there's a lot of caveats here. One, Ben Brode has tweeted out that he's on the watch list for balancing. He clearly needs it. I think even if they balance him, he's still going to be good. Number 2, as a consideration, I don't believe that Thanos or Galactus is ever going to leave Series 5. I think they are going to forever be the Series 5 chase cards. So there's none of this, I can buy him cheaper later. I believe that you're going to have to get the 6,000 tokens, so you might as well get him now when he is God. Oh. Roger, you chasing after Galactus?
I think I am, but I feel like you don't want him unless you have Death, unless you have She-Hulk, unless you have a lot of the more... to me, he runs in a very expensive deck, or as expensive as things get in Marvel Snap. So if you don't have those other pieces, Galactus isn't the meta breaker you want, I feel. Correct me
Right.
if I'm wrong.
You want an energy cheat to get them out early. You want these other cards to combo in together. So as a first card, I think the Series 3 and the Series 4 list are more where you want to look. But
There
once
you go. Like,
have
if you
a
don't
couple
have-
pieces,
Yeah.
then the
if you don't have
Galactus
Wave,
can take off.
Electro, or
Yeah.
Psylocke,
Right.
you're in trouble. Galactus is not the card you need.
Yeah, the turn 6 Galactus he's not going to make the opponent kneel, right? Once you have the rounded out collection, he is popping off. And it's terrifying. It's so frustrating to play against Raj. Trying to predict if the opponent has Galactus. I'm sure a lot of people have found that same struggle, and there's so much flexibility there as well. And now one of the brand new cards that is supercharging it, 6-0 Null. The reason that Null works so well with Galactus is when Galactus destroys the locations, all the cards at those locations are also destroyed. So Null and Death play in beautifully here. Ongoing has the combined power of all cards destroyed this game. People were really antsy on Null, but then he came out a little bit underwhelming. Do you have an idea why that was, or do you have a read on like what happened there, Raj? The Reddit promised me that this was going to be the new meta.
Yeah, I think you're like, again, in destroy decks. I think people found out that destroy decks, if you are not running Galactus, for example, a destroy deck that is destroying your own units is destroying generally low cost cards. You're destroying your Bucky Barnes, which has 1 power. You're destroying your Squirrels or your Novas. So the overall power of Null didn't turn out to be like, you might end up with a 6-12 or something like that.
Right.
And which is not a great finisher in that deck. Unless maybe you're running a Death with it and you've played Wave the turn before. But I mean, there's probably better 6-drops you can drop, or you can play Arrow and
control the opponent
and Death and do the bit of control. So, but I think Null with a Galactus deck now is a different story. I think maybe people weren't pairing her with Galactus, and when they did, they realized, oh wait, now I can get like a 630, or I think that's really where she fits in. I'm sorry, the gender of these.
I think
some
Null
of these
is
cards.
the key. I believe that Null is the god of the symbiotes and created the symbiotes to wage war against the Celestials in lands of yore.
Okay, I'm looking at a very small image of him right now, so I can't remember in my mind. I'm like, wait, what does he actually look like? Yeah. But I think that was where the sort of hesitation came out.
As a bit of an extra Easter egg for everybody, Null forged a sentient sword that he used to kill one of the Celestials, and now the skull of the Celestial is nowhere, which in the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special they now own as their home base. So there you go. Okay. Null comes all the way around, even into
Nobody
the
cares,
MCU.
Teddy. Nobody cares.
But Raj, the Guardians Holiday Special, I'm going to become like the Star Wars guys who are like, but the Holiday Special. Yeah, Null, less impact than people thought. Still, the fanboy special here. If you love the Galactus list, so this is like a very, very expensive list is the criteria for when you would want to spend a lot of tokens on Null. Or if you just like Deadpool, I've seen good performance in the Deadpool list. My proudest moment, Raj, I was watching, the wife was playing. The Raft gave us a free Null, and we ended up in a gameplay situation where our Devil Dino was on the board. If the opponent had Shang-Chi, we would lose. No cards had been destroyed. Null was 0 in hand. And at first, she was like, Null's 0. He's not good for anything. And then she was like, if Shang-Chi kills our Devil Dinosaur, then Null gets the power, right? I was like, yes. So we played Null, and it was a soul read. The opponent played Shang-Chi, killed the Devil Dino. Null immediately picked up the slack. We won the game. Oh, it felt
crowds
good.
Cheered. Everyone carried you out on their shoulders.
You could hear the cheers in the background. Exactly. Now for Shuri. 4-2 on reveal. Double the power of the next card that you play. Shuri is very interesting. She is supercharging these lists, especially the 0 to hero list that's playing big bodies anyway, and can just make them unstoppable. The downside is that Shang-Chi was already a counter to the list, and gets countered just as much with Shuri. Also gets countered up against Arrow, as I found with testing on stream quite embarrassingly. So we're putting Shuri into the wait for sale category. Not quite the fanboy special. I think that the list that she helps out can do the same things without her. Really, is kind of how I see it. Also, my prediction, my little radar, is that because she was likely slated to be a Nexus event release alongside Black Panther, I think she is towards the edge of what's going to get discounted. In Series 4, I think it's a new discussion. We're going to have to wait for when that happens. What would you say, Raj?
I'm surprised you have it in wait for sale. Again, I don't own Shuri, so I can't give any sort of first-hand knowledge. But through osmosis, through hearing and playing against other players, I got the impression Shuri was a bit higher up on the tier list because of that ability to double some stuff. And like you said, doubling big cards and then task mastering them or something like that is a nice 4, 5, and 6 turn play. But I can see what you mean. Obviously counterable if you're running Shang-Chi. If you're not, though, it's very hard to catch a 20 power Atuma, for example, or you know something like that in a
30 power Red Skull.
Exactly. You know, these cards that are very, very big already, and then get doubled and then get copied with Taskmaster. If your opponent is not running a Shang-Chi, you're home and dry generally. 30 power should be more than enough to win a lane. But I can see why you have it in the wait for sale list.
We're certainly going to be revisiting next month with Zabu, bringing Shuri down to a 2 cost. Oh, I have ideas, Raj. I have ideas, and they scare me a little bit. So, Super Scroll, also a 4 cost that's going to be dipping down. Raj, one of your collection acquisitions, 4/2 ongoing, has the ongoing effect of all enemy cards. This guy, I don't love him. Putting him down in the just bad category. He's a weather vane to the meta, right? If the meta is all these ongoing effects, then Super Scroll can really look busted. But when the opponent better knows what your card is going to be able to do than you do, I don't see that as a competitive card.
I agree. I mean, I picked him up when he popped into my store. I just, I saw that Series 5 card and the lights blinded me, and I just said, yeah, let's go. I suppose at that point, it was probably day 1 or day 2, and nobody knew what was good, what was bad. I got some success running him in a negative deck. I did enjoy playing him. I will say, now is probably not a good meta to run him into. There's not a huge amount of ongoing out there right now, and even if you do copy a Patriot's ability, for example, you're probably not running any cards to benefit from it, so it's again probably not ideal. Avoid him for now, but like you said, I think if we get some like really big good abilities like Null, for if Null becomes huge, these kind of ongoing cards, the ability to copy them, you can check him again. I'm going to shamelessly plug my channel. You can check the video I did with him, and you can see some sick plays where I steal the opponent's, Iron Man, Blue Marvel, Wong, all of that sort of stuff that wasn't in my deck to start with, and now suddenly I'm doubling my power or tripling my power, and but then again, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yep. Definitely check out Raj's video because I have not gotten him to be able to play around with. Were you running Mystique to be able to double scroll?
Yes, I was running it. It was in a negative deck, so I was able to play him for 2 power at times, or 2 energy, excuse me.
That's what I was wondering, if you could do a full, lean into it, Super Scroll, then Mystique to copy the Super Scroll ability that you've got 2 of these guys. Some wild stuff, but just so inconsistent, right?
Absolutely.
And now Thanos. Speaking of inconsistent, unfortunately, at the start of the game, shuffle the 6 Infinity Stones into your deck. Thanos as a 6/8 himself. This guy was immediately brushed to the side by the community. He does make your list less consistent with the addition of all of those stones. I think as things have been refined, he's ended up in a middling place. So this is the fanboy special. If you are a fanboy of Thanos, then you get Thanos. He leads his own archetype, really. I think his best success is in a bounce list. I do have that list. It's been doing very well for me. What feels clunky about the list is that it's often winning in spite of Thanos. The stones are really good, and Thanos as a 6/8 is not. He's just not. So he ends up in an awkward position in that regard. But there are some very fun things there. So again, as I said, if you are a fanboy of Thanos, pick up Thanos. He's also one of the cards I don't expect will ever get cheaper. So might as well get him now or begin saving if you really want to have that list. Now for Valkyrie. On reveal, set all cards at this location to 3 power. This is one where I think the win ratio, the stats aren't everything. I think she's a very competitive card. Raj, do you have any experience with Valkyrie here?
I don't. I had her pinned for a while, and then I just didn't see any lists that jumped out to me. And I think Null came out. You know, I consistently pin something and then realize, oh, there's something else coming down the line that I want instead, or I think will be better. I'd love to try her out now, to be honest with you, and play around with what she can do. I think her just ability to counter cards that play big numbers, I think is just really, really cool. And then, as we mentioned, she combos actually with Luke Cage to a certain degree, where you know your cards don't actually drop to 3; they'll stay at whatever they originally were. Now that might work against you if you're playing it on a card like, you know, the Hood or something like that you want to jump to 3 or matches. I think she opens up a really cool sort of control type card that, like you said, the stats aren't probably there because not a huge amount of people have her or are able to play her. Therefore, we probably don't have a big enough sample size.
Yeah, exactly. And you said that you have Bast. It seems like that's her home, is her and the kitty cat empowering Mr. Negative and Zoo lists. Picking up, just turning the Hood from a -2 to a 3, that's a huge power swing. Or Mr. Negative to be able to kind of relive his glory days. Now it's a 4-3 instead of a 4-4, but still, like, Mr. Negative was king when he was 4-4. So being able to have this control as well, I think the Valkyrie is in a very interesting spot. So the Fanboy Special, if you love Mr. Negative or if you love Zoo, recommending you acquire the Valkyrie. Those seem to be her homes, but it does become a very expensive list because you're also looking for Bast, and then that's 2 Series 5 cards to really punch up that list.
100%.
Fun one to talk about now. Dark Hawk, unreleased, little bit of theory crafting here, going to be coming out later this month. 4/1 ongoing, +2 power for each card in your opponent's deck. So Raj, we usually end the game with no draw effects at 3 cards in deck. So we're looking at a 4/7. This is a point behind tempo, but are you a Rock Slide fan, Raj? Do you want Rock Slide to be able to hit the board? Rock Slide suddenly adding 2 cards to the opponent's deck.
Fun story, I have a deck. I'll have a video all featured around Rock Slide and putting rocks in my opponent's deck. So we might revisit that list. But I don't think this card is going to be very good. I mean, people smarter than me will figure out better lists. I just think it makes me think of Ronin, and nobody really plays Ronin, so why would anybody play Darkhawk? But again, I'm not a creative deck builder, so don't listen to me. But my initial first glance thoughts are, this is just another version of Ronin. Nobody plays Ronin. Nobody's going to play Darkhawk.
I feel you there. So we're going Fanboy Special because he seems to give a glimmer of hope to Rock Slide, which I know a number of people have really wanted. But I do not think it's going to be competitive. It's Fanboy Special or just bad. It might be, I think it's both in this case. It's just so clunky because Rock Slide's also a 4 cost. You're doing a build around with the Darkhawk, and then his best enabler is also a 4 cost, but then not bringing that much power themselves. I have a list that might work. Now, here's the thing. Zabu around the corner, guys. Zabu around the corner. 2 cost Darkhawk, 2 cost Rock Slide coming in early with a bounce list where Beast returns them and then plays them for 1 cost after that. Oh, no. Maybe we'll be seeing something then, but again, then it's like a meme list because you have to have Zabu early. We could talk theory crafting for forever. I think we're going to leave him in the Fanboy Special and revisit once we have more data. Our next edition, Sentry, also unreleased, 4/8. Cannot be played at the right location. On reveal, add a -8 power void to the right location. How do you feel about Sentry? Also coming in the mid-game price point. What are you feeling, Raj?
Obviously, his base stats are pretty good. Like the 4/8 is.
Well, so I might actually challenge you there because is 4/8 that good? The other 4-cost cards, like I like Warpath, Rescue, reaching a little bit higher. You have like Crossbones, right? Also the 4/8. So he's kind of keeping that stat line. We really need a productive way to use the Void, right?
That's true. And again, probably will fall into that, meme deck where you want to get that video of somebody vipering the Void across.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Raj. I'm called out.
And no, I haven't hacked your Google Drive, but that is what you want. Obviously, people are going to put him in. Again, I haven't done any theory crafting. I'm sure you've done far more than I have, but my initial thoughts are immediately, how do we destroy the Void? You got your Carnage or your Deathlocks or ways to send him across the board, things like that. I was going to say Venom, but obviously Venom would not be a good card to play. But yeah, it doesn't feel good potentially playing a Carnage or a Deathlock on turn 5 and 6. So I lack the creative will, to be honest with you, to figure out a good Sentry list, because I just don't see him as being a good card, full stop. But like I said, I'm sure you people like yourself have got creative somewhere. Where do you feel?
Yeah, we're going fanboy special right now just because of how much buzz that I've seen on stream and in the Discord of people really wanting to use Sentry, and then the upside of Vipering the Void is enormous, right? You just develop the 4/8 on your side of the board, and then the opponent, you're sending an extra Hobgoblin across. That's wild. In the mid game, it's going to be a lot harder to pull off. We're going to have to see how consistent it can really be. This one, I think, is closer to just bad than the Darkhawk, and without the stats, he's going to remain in the fanboy special right now. I would be very hesitant to spend your tokens here. You're going to have to be really dedicated to this Viper play and using Sentry and the Void. But if you can get it to work, let us know.
You, as somebody who wants to make a video on this,
yes.
Are you picking up Sentry if he pops into your collector list?
I'm getting Darkhawk first. I'm getting Darkhawk Rockslide first.
Okay. I think you're wrong both ways, but good luck. Godspeed.
Yeah. That's where it's going to go. So here is all of Series 5. As I said, weighted more heavily on the fanboy specials. Hopefully we were able to very clearly say what list you're going to get the best benefit out of these guys. It's starting to look like very expensive lists in terms of the token cost. And as we have seen, just waiting to get more information on the cadence of cards coming down from Series 5 to 4 is going to be important if you're going to blow a big token stash, especially if it ends up being that cards are going to be moving down fairly quickly. Could be some wasted tokens there, but we're going to be covering any of these updates here on the channel, and we're going to be revisiting the list as we get new cards in the coming months and as cards continue to move throughout all of the pools. I think my biggest chase card right now is probably Galactus. I really want to be able to get Galactus before he disappears from the list, Raj. What's your biggest chase card right now? What's your white whale?
I think Galactus is there. As we've talked through some of these cards, I've actually changed my mind. I was thinking about Darkhawk and Sentry, picking them up if they popped into my store. But now I really want Valkyrie, actually.
Yeah.
Just to be able to put her in that Bast. I have Bast, you see, so it's putting it in that list just to kind of buff it up. I want to play Thanos as well. I want to play the stones. Like, I know I've seen a lot of different variants on that, killmongering your own stones, bouncing your stones. I'm now thinking of like getting a giant Thanos and putting a Dracula in my list and maybe trying to discard Thanos. I mean, is that a possibility?
It's cheaper, actually.
It just makes me want to play other stuff. But 6,000 collector tokens is so much work, and it's such a regretful feeling, I imagine. To burn 6,000 tokens and then immediately go, wow, this card is bad and I'm never winning a game again.
Oh, yeah. When you spend 6,000 tokens and then go on a tilt of like 20 cubes, then it's like, whoa, this feels really bad. I do have to say, Bast, for some reason, the graphic didn't include her, or it got overwritten. Bast is going to go in the fanboy specials right alongside Valkyrie. I see her playing in very much the similar lists. The Mr. Negative, the Zoo list, being able to empower there. A 1/1, setting all cards in hand to 3 power. If you're hitting the Mr. Negative, the Hood, the Iron Man, the Mystique, any of these things, it's beautiful. They all seem to be helping Cerebro 3s as well. I don't know if it makes Cerebro 3s meta, but maybe once we get enough data and enough people have both Valkyrie and Bast, that will be a meta terror. It remains to be seen. So Bast, you can imagine Bast right next to Valkyrie playing in the same lists, effectively the same advice for both of those cards. Raj, thank you so much for joining us as we continue this series. We might have to have you back, and it's going to be fun to see how well this advice pans out as the meta continues to develop and more people get their hands on these cards. So where can people check out more of your content?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all at Rogtronic. My name is Roger, so everyone says it's Rogtronic, but my name is Roger and there's no D in it, so Rogtronic. I make daily videos on YouTube. I stream when I can. I'm a new dad, so I don't have that much time to stream. So trying to get YouTube out there, making shorts, things like that. I try to be funny on Twitter every now and again as well. And thank you so much for having me, Teddy.
Well, it was great. We did a Cube Rush competition previously, so got to return the favor of having you appear on the channel here. And as soon as we get friendly matches, Raj, the gauntlets are going to be thrown down for the rematch where we can really go head to head. Looking forward to that. Let us know in the comments, guys. What do you guys think of the recommendations? Is there potentially a card synergy that we missed out on, or a deck that you have been crafting in the lab that you think elevates one of these cards? I love talking everything deck tech down in the comments. Also, if you want to help promote this video to the rest of the community, show it some love, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We have plenty more projects to come. Till next time, thank you guys for watching. Keep on snapping.